Hello, everyone. Nathaniel Gavronsky here, and I'm at the battleground of San Jacinto. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what leads up to this battle, the battle itself, what happens afterwards, and this beautiful monument right behind me. Starting off, a little bit of context for what leads up to this. So, in the early 1830s, Santa Anna becomes president of Mexico, and he overthrows the federal constitution from 1824, creating a centralist government in where he rules with an iron fist. Most of Mexico, not just Texas, actually don't like this and are pushing the fight against it. Texas is the only part of Mexico that's actually having any success with this, and they actually start pushing out a lot of the Mexican armies out of this area, sending them south of the Rio Grande. And this comes in the culmination of the Battle of Gonzales, which is not really much of a battle, but it is a confrontation. This is when the Mexican army, the Alamo Company, the Stryker Group, goes to Gonzales asking for a cannon back that the government gave them for defending against Native Americans. The Gonzales citizens decide, nope, not giving you your cannon back, and this is between September 27th and October 2nd. This is when the come and take it flag comes into play, where the Alamo Company goes back to the Alamo without any cannon. And these are the Mexican forces, the Alamo Company. This leads to Santa Anna's brother-in-law, General Ducos, taking command of the army and the forces up here to quell the rebellion taking place here in Texas. He arrives up here, and there becomes the siege of Bejar, which is the siege of San Antonio, and the siege of the Alamo, where the Texians are the offenders and the Mexican army are the defenders of the Alamo. This comes to a head on December 9th of 35. Now, the Mexicans are told to leave, and General Ducos is told to never come back. Now, this is Santa Anna's brother-in-law. He's repelled back to south of the Rio Grande, and now Santa Anna is mad. His honor has been put at question with his family honor. So he decides to march up here. He comes up and he arrives here on the 23rd of February, and this begins the siege and the Battle of the Alamo. In the meantime, realizing what was going on, and they needed to actually decide if they're going to go all the way or not, the delegation at Washington on the Brazos in Texas, the Texas delegation, declares independence on March 2nd, which is Sam Houston's birthday. They said, so while that's happening, the Alamo takes place, and the final battle of the Alamo takes place on March 6th of 36. All the men are killed. Then the Mexican army moves to Goliad, mercilessly kills and slaughters everyone there. Santa Anna is doing what he did in the Battle of the Medina in 1813, slaughtering everybody. The Texians realize they don't really have much of a force yet, and they don't want to have the Mexicans get supplies. So this is what they call the runaway scratch, and this is where people of Gonzales, all the countryside, they burn everything they have, and they start fleeing eastward. They start fleeing towards Louisiana border, trying to figure out what they're going to do. Sam Houston keeps retreating after possible encounter after encounter. He's retreating. He's getting booed all over Texas. But he realizes he's going to have to decide to make a fight, and if not, all of Texas is going to be without. So on the 18th of April, just by chance, when the army is retreating eastward, they decide to go south to Harrisburg versus north to Nocedocus. And they decide that they head towards the Harrisburg, and they come across a Mexican soldier, and they find out just exactly where Santa Anna is. He's actually in Washington on the Brazos looking for the Texas Army. The Texas Army is not there. The actual Texas Army, the Texas government, is actually in Harrisburg. This is the capital at the time. And so he also knows that Santa Anna's force has been split up. And so he decides he's going to try to get there before Santa Anna does, because they know exactly where Santa Anna's going to try to cross. A place called Nathaniel Lynch's Ferry. Nathaniel Lynch was a guy who showed up here about a decade earlier and was running a ferry boat from here to Galveston. And we're trying to a lot of this was settled. I mean, there were settlements here. That's why the government was put here. But the government had actually fled to Galveston, and Santa Anna was trying to figure out what to do next. But they knew that this is where he was coming to cross the river to get there. Sam Houston gets here early. Sam Houston gets here on the 20th of April of 36. He's here before the Mexicans actually arrive. He gets here several hours early, actually, and he hides along these tree lines. So behind me, this reflecting pool is actually a bunch of trees. This was all forested area. Where I'm at now was a pretty open clearing, but behind me, over behind me was all open. Was all trees and forested area. He was hiding from Santa Anna because he didn't want Santa Anna to have a frontal confrontation, and also, this was 18th and 19th century military tactics. Sam Houston only has 900 men. without knowing exactly the number of forces that Santa Anna has, an open pitch battlefield with a trained army versus a bunch of farmers wasn't going to be a successful battle, and Houston knew that. So he sends scouts out to try to figure out just how big Santa Anna's forces actually are. And they determined that the forces aren't really all that big, only about 500. And Houston is pushed. Let's go, let's go, let's fight. However, he still realizes that he doesn't have the resources for a full-on fight in an open pitch. Santa Anna's army is way too disciplined for that. And in a pitch battle where both armies are in full formation, the Texians don't have a chance. So he holds off. During the night, late in the evening, Santa Anna gets reinforcements, bringing up his total number into about 1,500 men. Now, this completely outnumbers the Texians, who are livid that they haven't already attacked. Santa Anna, realizing that the Texians are probably going to attack, they had a couple of skirmishes earlier. Both were nearly disastrous for the Texians, where the cavalry tried to make a charge against Houston's orders. Houston forced everyone back to the lines, but because of those skirmishes, Santa Anna kept all of his army up, the ones who had just arrived from marching from quite a distance, and had them start fortifying and building forts. Now, their camp is on the other end of this monument, about a mile away from the Texians, where the Texians are. It's about a mile distance, and there's a big open field in between, and the Mexicans don't have as good of a defensive position as the Texians, and they actually trying to build one, at haste. All their wagons, their saddles, everything is being taken apart to try to build a defense, redoubt around where their camp is. And their camp is poorly situated. This was one of the biggest mistakes Santa Anna could have had, but it pulled off in Sam Houston's favor. Because see, in the morning, Santa Anna was ready. He was ready, thinking the Texans were going to come at any moment. At 9 o'clock, no battle. 10 o'clock, no battle. 11, 12. In the early afternoon, about 2 or 3 o'clock, they decide, the Texians aren't going to attack. Let's rest. No one has been able to rest. No one has really eaten. They've been up all night building defenses. The Mexican army stands down. They all stand down, and they all start. Many of them are eating. They're bathing. They're not in formation. For some reason, Sam Houston decides now is the time. He loads up his army. He marches forward, and right where that monument is, he takes these 2 brass cannons. They were called the Twin Sisters that were given to him, and he lights them up. He shoots off into the Mexican camp, and all of the Texian forces move forward, firing off a single volley. Now, this is where typical army would reload and wait for the orders to reload and then shoot again, while the Mexicans would take time to that 3 minutes to formate their lines and to proceed in the battle. Well, the Texians didn't do that. Instead of trying to reload, they went in clubs swinging. They came in, they jumped over the improvised defenses of the Mexican army, and any sense of a battle was over in 18 minutes. However, the killing did not stop. See, there was a bridge called Vince's Bridge that was about 8 miles south of here, and the guy named Def Smith, on orders of Houston, went down there and blew that bridge up. There was nowhere for the Mexican army to retreat. Both DeCos Amont, which was one of Santa Anna's other generals, and Santa Anna were all captured in the next couple of days. Houston was actually shot out from under his horse and injured his ankle, and he was back, under a tree when they finally captured Santa Anna on the 22nd. They found him by chance. He was hiding in the marshy, swampy area, and he was wearing a private's uniform. He had dumped anything showing that he was of any importance. And how they figured out about it is that other Mexican soldiers saluted him, and they eventually were able to verify this was Santa Anna. And now it's time to negotiate. Over the next couple of weeks, Santa Anna was forced to stay here and negotiate a surrender and a retreat, ordering the larger Mexican army. I mean, the Mexican army was huge. It was 5,000 strong army, and it wasn't very far. And he had to order all of them to retreat. The Mexican government, however, while Santa Anna was up here, there was an acting president who had died. There was kind of not as they were, when Santa Anna, was really and the president in name only. The Congress was not going to accept this treaty, even though Santa Anna promised he would try to push for it. The Mexican government never would agree to this treaty. The treaty was called the Treaty of Velasquez, I believe. And the treaty was never recognized by the Mexican government, but the Texians believed they had won their independence, and Santa Anna really never did launch another attack into Texas at full scale. The Texians basically had their independence, at least in name only, and set up, their capital right back here and in Houston, and would have the capital be here until it moved to what was now Austin in 1839. But because of Mexican army, coming up and ravaged, they took the city of San Antonio two more times. Where the Alamo's at, they took it twice before being repelled back by the Texians. And during this time, Houston, who was president, wanted to move the capital back towards Houston as a place more under protection because of the Mexican government. However, it was really looked at in Texas as an independent nation wasn't really going to be able to survive between the two powers of the United States and Mexico. So there was a convention that took place in 1845 at Washington on the Brazos, again, to determine what they were going to do. Are they going to become annexed by the United States, or just exactly what's going to happen? They decided to do that. And then they become a state on February 19th, 1846, setting off the chain of events that would lead to the Mexican-American War, to where Texas and all the Southwest were being ceded by Mexico to the United States. If it wasn't for the battle that took place here on April 21st, 1836, none of that might have happened. Santa Anna might have won. Houston could have fallen out of favor for not fighting, and all of Texas, and again, a good chunk of United States history, and would have been over. This battle, this 18-minute battle, set a chain of events that altered the course of North American history forever. It's one of the most important aspects of this time period. And this flag right here flew at the actual battle. And the original flag, the flag that actually flew here, the real one, is actually in the state capitol building in Austin in the House of Representatives chamber. And it's their original flag. It's their flag that they flew here. It's the only one that survives. The Gonzales flag, no one knows where it was. It was made out of a wedding dress. They don't really know all the other flags that were here. No one really knows where any of them are at. The only one that survived was this one, and it's the real one, the one that actually flew at the battle. To commemorate the Battle of San Jacinto in 1936, they start to build this monument. The monument is dedicated on April 21st, 1939, the anniversary of the Battle of San Jacinto. It is 567 feet tall, which is 12 feet taller than the Washington Monument, and it is the tallest freestanding column monument in the world, and it's in Texas. They say everything's bigger in Texas. Well, they made sure of it here in San Jacinto. This is an open place. It's open from 9 to 6 o'clock. I believe every day. Sunday has shorter hours, but there's trails, so you can walk around the battlefield, see where some of the sites were. The battleship Texas, this is a World War I battleship, is actually behind me, and this little enclave onto the water. So just just on this other side, right behind me, that's the Buffalo Bayou. That's a very important aspect for Harris County, which is where I'm at, which is Harrisburg County. That's the Battle of San Jacinto, a battle that lasted 18 minutes and changed the entire world. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, share these videos. My name is Nathaniel Gavronsky. Stay healthy, stay wealthy, and as always, stay wise, Texas.